I spent a good 7 years there, a small gap in between where I ran off to another book distributor, which paid me a little more money. I came back and I served till 91, and it held me in good stead. I met a lot of journalists there, I read a lot of books there, and it helped launch my new career.
Those back-to-back ODI successes, and you were in the thick of it. There was fever in the country, wasn't there?
For a while I was an England fan, and I was very happy when England beat Australia.
All right, I hope you're driving safely wherever you are listening to us. We're coming at you, Mumbai, Delhi, Bengaluru, Chennai, 94.3 on the FM band on Radio 1. And for those of you who are not driving, you can catch us on YouTube on the Radio 1 International YouTube channel. We're 1.4 million and counting, and thank you so much for all the love that you give us. From me, Hrishi K, a very special day for me because I've fanboyed over this man's writing for decades now. An illustrious 31-year career as a sports journalist. He is today deputy editor of the Midday, sports editor for the Midday for many, many years. All-round good man. Please welcome Clayton Murzello. Clayton, I've been waiting for this for years. You've been the reticent one, always saying no and suggesting other people, saying, why did you take so and so on? You finally agreed, and such an honor. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rishi. Very rich introduction. Thank you.
Clayton, I'm going to start with some early days because for me, your life itself is a wonderful lesson for sports journalists. You started off selling sports books at Marine Sports in 1985. Now, this was the day after your SSC exams. A lesser known fact, and this is something that I'm privy to, is that Harsha Bhogle used to visit Marine Sports in Dadar back in the day, and he used to find young Clayton sitting in a corner, rummaging through those books. And that's why Clayton is known as the encyclopedia of all things cricket and statistics. So tell me about those early days.
Yeah, in fact, I got fixed with Marine Sports even before I could complete my SSC exams. I knew I was going where I was heading. And I spent a good 7 years there, a small gap in between where I ran off to another book distributor, which paid me a little more money. I came back and I served till 91, and it held me in good stead. I met a lot of journalists there, I read a lot of books there, and it helped launch my new career.
Now, these are all eventful years, not just in your life, Clayton, but also in the history of Indian cricket. Because when I say you started selling sports book at Marine Sports, 85, and your initiation is 81, interesting phase in Indian cricket. Because 83, we win the Prudential World Cup in England, and 85, in what they called pajama cricket back then, which is now normal cricket, we win the Benson and Hedges, and Ravi, your friend Ravi Shastri, wins an Audi. Those back-to-back ODI successes, and you were in the thick of it. There was fever in the country, wasn't there?
In the thick of it, in the sense I was still at school in 83, was just out of school in 85. And I think the 85 win proved that 83 was no fluke. And to me, to my young eyes, 83 was a fluke. No one expected India to win. And interestingly, it was on the day before my birthday. So I got an ideal birthday gift.
And honestly, I mean, I look at that 85 team. The 83 team has been well recognized. A motion picture has been made out of it. But even from the 85 team, I look at Sadanand Vishwanath and his electric glove work behind the stumps. And what LS, which is Lakshman Sivaramakrishnan, did, being a leggy in limited overs cricket and being so effective, it's a very interesting side. And Ravi at the top of the order, not just chipping in as an opening batsman, but also as a spinner. Yeah. As a young student, all of that must have been fascinating for you.
Absolutely. And don't forget, a young Azharuddin was making waves too. First game against Pakistan, he got 90 odd. And he showed that, his 300s in England was not by chance. He actually had the talent to go and perform on the world stage. So, fine bunch of cricketers. I'm shocked, rather, that the BCCI did not do anything to felicitate that team.
Yeah.
Their chance was in March. But as usual, like they do, they miss out on a lot of things.
A lot of things. Clayton's interest in cricket actually started 3 years prior to the marine sports initiation. His father, his late dad, brought home a copy of Sports Week's World of Cricket. Now, let me explain to all of you Gen Z people who don't even understand the idea of a Sports Week. Sports Star still exists, but back in the day, there used to be Sports Star, which is the Hindu publication's cricket magazine, and the Midday had Sports Week. And Sports Week's World of Cricket, all these publications are very, very revered. Talk to me about memories.
Let me say first, it was Sports Week first,
First,
and
then
then
sports.
Midday.
And then Midday, correct, yeah.
Yeah, so Midday had Sports Week.
Midday at Sports Week, correct.
Yeah,
I stand
later on.
corrected later on,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Midday started in 79, Sports Week started in 68. And Sports Week for many years was the only fix for sports lovers because Sport and Pastime closed down in 68. Sports Week started in October 68. And until 78, there was no other magazine. So Sports Week used to be a big fix from the time I started getting it. But my dad bought home a publication, a sister publication called Sports Week's World of Cricket in 1978. And interestingly, I was just flipping through the magazine and I got hooked. I mean, what made me get addicted to cricket, I don't know. But that magazine certainly did.
You know, a while ago, Clayton did something amazing. In a small little box, he gave me a treasure. A pen drive which had, from 1978 onwards, editions of Sports Week. And there were some fascinating articles, and I still have that pen drive. I'm carrying it around. One of those things I remember in 78 was, I think, Sunny Gavaskar interviewing Gundappa Vishwanath. Unbelievable. And you had put it up like a scrapbook, which is then eventually made it to the pen drive. And Sunny talking about how Vishy was dropped. And it was a double blow for him, not just as a player and an India representative, but also because Vishy is his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
You know, articles like that. I think Rajan Bala, all these guys, excellent writers who wrote. And you must have immersed yourselves in those pages. And was that the time you decided you want to be a sports journalist?
No.
No?
I had no such plan. I was just following cricket. I went with the flow. And initially, I actually did not read. I just flipped through the pictures. You know, the pictures fascinated me. And that, transformed me into my interest in the print, whatever was written. So initially, it was just photographs.
Lovely. And did you have any pin-ups in your room?
Yes, I did. I had a poster of Ian Chappell. I had a poster of Gavaskar and Kanhai later on. And Ian Chappell somehow was a guy I idolized. I didn't watch him play, but I read his book, the paperback version of his book, which someone lent me. And I started, idolizing him. Although he very soon he had, he quit cricket.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, my idol, it's Ian Chappell.
And Ian subsequently has become very close to Clayton. There will be a reference of Ian Chappell a little later in this interview. But I'm trying to go in chronological order of the boy that was Clayton Murzello. I mean, you've known as a guy who has a photographic memory for statistics. How is it that you managed to flunk class 5 and 6, but somehow could remember cricket scores?
That was God's way of dealing with me. Yes, I remembered a lot of scores because, as I said, from photographs, I went to what was there in the score sheets and then into what the great writers wrote. So I used to remember somehow scores, some records. Nothing great. There are a lot of cricket lovers who remember some things like that. But there was one instant that, my teacher, economics teacher, was talking about figures, and then it came to cricket, and then he said how Don Bradman holds the record for the maximum runs in Test cricket. And at that time, Jeff Boycott had passed Sobers. No, apparently he said Sobers held the record. So I corrected him. He was not impressed, I'll tell you that.
Jeffrey ultimately ended up with over 8,000 runs.
Yes, he did.
Until Sunny overtook him, Sunny Gavaskar. And I have to say this, that even though he was technically really correct, He was a boring player.
Yeah.
And
If you ask the Australians, they say that he gave them more time.
he gave them more time.
Yeah.
And of course, Sir Garfield being Sir Garfield, my God, what an all-rounder, how amazing. You know, buying sports books for a middle-class boy like you at that point of time was quite unaffordable. But in 1984, lots of things happened. And luckily for you, your mom came through and proved to be the benevolent mother that she is. And that furthered and heightened your passion for the game. Talk to me about that story.
First of all, a pat on the back for your research done on me. Yes, in 83, 84, Australian cricket lost Lily, Marsh,
Yeah.
and Greg Chappell. And there was a magazine recently launched then called Cricket Lifestyle. And somehow this magazine made its way to India. Fresh issue, plastic packed. At Prabhadevi Signal Junction, a vendor was selling that magazine. And he called, I went to him and he said, it's 35 bucks. There was no way I could shell out 35 rupees. So I asked my mother. I just took a chance. And to my great surprise, she agreed. But I'd have to do the running about for all her groceries free of charge for 1 year. So that was the price I paid.
Yeah, but unbelievable that in 1984, Rodney Marsh, who used to keep wickets, Dennis Lilly, the great Dennis Lilly, who subsequently came and worked at the MRF Pace Foundation in Chennai for many, many years, brooding young talent for India. And of course, the excellent Greg Chappell all retired together. And you would have thought it was a bit of a lacuna for Australian cricket. But like the Aussies always do, they came back, quickly bounced back. I think Border took over as captain, Alan Border,
Yes.
and Kim Hughes for a brief while. And then Border, and they were again back in business. The Aussies, like they always do. In 1992, you didn't appear for your third year BA, which is your TUI BA, because you got a very interesting stats deal. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I was all set to appear for my exams. No, all set is not the right word. I was on the verge of appearing.
Yeah.
And I got this deal from Midday to continue doing stats. And they wanted stats after every match of the World Cup in 92. So from whatever money I had for my freelance work, I went to Dadar, bought myself a table, sat on that table and started watching the matches and compiling stats every evening and delivering it to Midday.
Did you have the
on a
large
cycle.
book which scorers use to score?
No, not
regular
exactly.
matches?
I
Yeah.
did my own methods of, keeping track. And I delivered the stats every evening. And then through that, I got, acquainted with page making in Midday because I used to go to the office and see them making pages. And that's how I got in contact with them.
What do you remember most about the 1992 World Cup that you were doing stats on?
For a while, I was an England fan. And I was very happy when England beat Australia at Sydney. And I was even backing them to win the final. I was not backing Pakistan
Till
to win
Imran
the
and the
final.
boys came and did what they did.
Yeah, and then in later years, we came to know what a great cricketer Imran was. I mean, he achieved whatever he set out to do.
He was tough on the boys.
Yeah.
I mean, there were so many times, of course, you didn't have stump camera mics then. I'm sure the stump mics would have shown a lot more expletives than what were delivered. But, you look at that whole generation, Wasim, Waqar, Mushtaq Ahmed, he blooded those cricketers.
Yeah.
Even the openers, Ramiz, all those guys. What a titanic leader. I think 92 was all him.
Yeah, see, Pakistan, they never put out a bad side on the field in terms of talent. They've got all the talent, but no one could weld them together like Imran did. So that's his greatest contribution. He was the only guy who could get all that talent gelled.
And did they have their own thing happening like Sunny and Kapil, where, people would say Javed should be captain, Imran should be captain? Because in a lot of ways, if you look at it, Javed was the rustic village boy, like Kapil was a rustic village boy. Sunny was a St. Xavier's College graduate. Imran was the guy who went to England to study. So they had their own Kapil-Sunny equation there.
Yeah, But in the case of Kapil Dev and Gavaskar, it was the selectors who used to do this.
Yeah.
Whereas in the case of Javed Miandad and Imran, I think Javed was always going to be the vice captain. He was a perfect vice captain. So there was no two ways about it. When you had Javed Miandad and Imran together, Imran had to be the leader.
Yeah.
But with Gavaskar and Kapil, it depended, who was in, great form and things like that.
Lovely. Now, while working in marine sports, the other, which for the rest of you around the country is an iconic bookstore, Clayton, you met a lot of sports journalists. You also got a chance to do your own sports goods business and talk a little bit about that. This is quite fascinating for me. I know that you initially went to a school and sold sports goods there, but is that where your love for local cricket came about? The Kanga League, the inter-school stuff, following local cricket.
It had its genesis there. What happened was that I was allowed to do my own business while working for Marine Sports. The owner, Theo Briganza, was kind enough to grant me that. So I started selling stuff to relatives and friends, shops, socks, t-shirts. And then one day I returned from Pune, from where I used to get my stock, the Sunny Sports Boutique, where Sunil Gavaskar was a partner, one of the partners. And there was a guy who came into the shop where I had my full bag of stuff ready. And he said, what is this? I said, I'm just doing a small business. And that guy was the former Mumbai wicketkeeper batsman Kiran Asher. And he said, you've got some lovely stuff. Why don't you come to my school? I'm coaching St. Mary's. You come and show this stuff to my boys. They may be interested in buying. So that week I went there, and whatever I had, I sold. And of course, the boys belong to well-to-do families. So they said, why don't you get us some bats? So I got them some Kashmir willow bats, SG bats. They said, yeah, these are good, but why don't you get us some English willow bats? So I went back to Pune, got some English willow bats, and the owner of one of the owners of Sunny Sports Boutique, still around, still selling stuff, Raju Mehta, lent me his kit bag. But it was not a kit bag, it was a coffin, which they called
call it the coffin.
Yeah. So I used to take that coffin to Pune, I used to bring back the coffin, put it on my cycle behind and ride away to St. Mary's and sold all that stuff. In the meantime, the parent-teacher association which the school has was very active. And one of the parents met Kiran Asher, who by then became a good friend of mine, and says, this boy is coming here and selling stuff. Why don't we start a sports shop? So they started a sports shop because of that reason. And from there, they branched out to a brand called Sportif.
Of course, I remember Sportive.
Yeah.
They used to have these bands, colored bands.
Yes. It became a big brand then. So that's where Sportif started.
Okay, I'm just going to fill in the blanks for those of you who are not Mumbaikars, not from Bombay. He's talking about St. Mary's, a school in Mazgaon, which is a very prominent part of Mumbai city. It's a celebrity school. Baman Irani, the actor from Bollywood, went to St. Mary's. Kunal Vijayakar, who's the food guy, food blogger, he went to St. Mary's. Hormaz Sorabji, who's the great Soli Sorabji's son, who runs Autocar India magazine, who's India's foremost auto journalist, car journalist, went to that school. And if you go through the annals of history, there'll be many, many. Any famous cricketers whose names you want to add from St. Mary's?
Yeah, Shishir Hatangadi, former Bombay captain.
What a wonderful man. Yeah.
Vijay Mohan Raj, Nakul Rege, who's based in America.
Lovely, all
St. Mary's.
Shishir had a lovely voice.
Yeah.
Very regal kind of voice. Love that about him. So, that's just filling in the blanks for non-Mumbaikars. Now, you start writing in the Midday in 1988. Your first piece is on the team that you sold equipment to, which is St. Mary's. And they beat Shardashram School. And Shardashram is the school that blooded Sachin Tendulkar, Vinod Kambli, and of course that world record beating partnership that brought those two boys to the fore. But the Giles Shield final belonged to St. Mary's in 1988.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Wow, it was such a great sight to see all those boys who I sold equipment to give it all on the field. Tiny guys, not bothered about how big the opposition was. And that was a time when Sachin and Vinod Kambli were really big in school cricket.
Yeah.
And I think Sachin got out for 4. But that's a triumph, or that's a defeat rather, which not many people talk about.
They always talk
With
about
due
the
respect to
victories.
Sharda Shram, but they did lose that final.
Yeah. You know, because you understand Mumbai cricket so well, one thing I've always wanted to know is that, I mean, the North had its own version of this, which is Rajinder Goyal. But Paddy Shivalkar, Padmakar Shivalkar never played for India, despite his staggering record in Mumbai cricket.
Yeah.
Why did that happen, Clayton?
I think probably Paddy Shivalkar was born at the wrong time. Also, this fixation by the selectors that you can't have 2 left-arm spinners playing, but then you had 2 off-spinners playing, Venkat and Prasanna. At least in the squad, there's only one instance where all 4 played, I think, but at least he should have been in the squad.
Correct.
He deserved to play at the highest level. Let's not make any mistake on that.
The other one I want to ask you about is Amol Mujumdar. You know, Amol, another great servant to the game in Mumbai. Wonderful bloke. I've had him on the show a couple of times. He never made it to play for the country. And at one time, they were touting him as to be, the next Sachin, next great middle order bat.
Again, competition. Dravid, Ganguly, Tendulkar, Lakshman around the same time. Just
Any other
couldn't
era, you would have made
Yeah.
it. Fantastic. Okay, let's come back to your eventful life. So you freelanced from 1988 to May 1994. Talk about publications you contributed to, or notable stints during that time.
Yeah, I was basically freelance. I did a lot of work for Midday. I covered local cricket. I also did stats for Midday. And I also wrote for the Sunday Observer. So, and Sunday Observer gave me some great story ideas. Nikhil Lakshman, who was the former editor of Midday, took over Sunday Observer. And for every week, he had an assignment for me. And very interesting assignments. It was quite new to me because in Midday I was restricted to local cricket and stats. So I enjoyed that. But then Midday offered me a job, which I couldn't refuse.
And obviously, a publication whose heart really beat for sports. I mean, Khalid Ansari himself was the promoter, was a great sports lover, is a great sports lover. And, you managed to build a wonderful team over the years. Just to run through Clayton's career, he joined Midday in June 1994 as a sports reporter cum sub-editor, became senior sub in 1998, sports editor in 2001, group sports editor 2006, and of course, deputy editor last April. So how do you view this entire tenure here? I mean, fine bunch of people that you worked with.
Many people ask me, like, haven't you thought of leaving Midday? I haven't.
Yeah.
There were offers. I can't say there were no offers. There were offers, but maybe I'm old-fashioned. Maybe I'm old school. I developed a comfort zone with Midday. Not that Midday did not challenge me, or Midday doesn't challenge me, but I just felt staying in one place is good.
Talk about some notable people that you met through the job. I mean, people who you really admired and struck a wonderful working relationship with.
Well, Ayaz Memon, who was the guy who actually gave my article on St. Mary's to the Midday news editor at that time, Javed Akhtar. I'm grateful to him. I worked under Ayaz. I think I worked for 7 years under him before him joining Cricket Talk. So he was one of the journalists I really admired, who was my boss. And then came Akar Patel, another fine editor, very dynamic editor, very fearless editor, if I can say so. I worked under around 8 to 9 editors.
Lovely. What fun.
All have been good to me.
All have been good to you because you're so good at your work. A 2-time winner of the Sports Journalists Federation of India, which is the SGFI Excellence Award. Do you remember the particular years you won it for, and what was the eventful things that happened in those 2 years that you won the award?
Of course. 2004 award I won for a story which I did on the day of the board elections, the board AGM in Calcutta.
Wow.
All the big guns were away. At that time, the board had its office at the north stand of the Brabant Stadium. So I seized that chance. I knew that this office is in a bad shape. I went there, and only a few junior staff people were there, and I did a story on the state of the board office, the poor little rich board, yeah, and what facilities the staff did not have. They were having their lunch. I got my photographer colleague to shoot pictures, and then while doing that, I met a guy who had not got a raise for a very long time, and he was the senior most BCCI employee.
Wow.
A guy called Sitaram Tambe. So I did a story on him, the guy who never got a raise. He got allowances and things like that, but the actual raise part he did not get. And of course, he had a sad tale to tell. Despite working so long, with nothing much to take home. So I think that got the award. And then I shared the second award with a guy called Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, who's in America now. We did an interview with Mike Brearley on the 2007 tour of England. We both interviewed him. He did it for Cricinfo, I did it for Midday. So we got an award for that.
Mike Brearley, incidentally, all you current generation people, was one of England's most successful captains. Often the selectors were questioned, saying he's not doing a great job with the bat. But his cricketing mind was so astute that they kept him on as captain, right?
Great man manager.
Great man manager.
You wouldn't have seen the best of Botham, probably, if not for Brearley in 1981.
Lovely, yeah. Ian Botham's hallmark here, 1981.
I'll tell you a story about that series.
Yeah.
When Ian Botham, there are two stories. He either got sacked or he resigned. Okay, both are true. Actually, they happened at the same time. And Mike Brearley gets into the team as captain, and he asks him, "Do you want to play?" And Ian Botham says, "Yes, I want to play." He said, "Good, because you'll take 10 wickets and you'll score 200 runs." And it came true.
And exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Beefy, as Botham was known, a fantastic ambassador for the game in England. And I think really there's been no all-rounder like Ian Botham for the English cricket team.
94.3 Radio 1.